Gamers, today we are doing must-add players for your fantasy baseball teams in what I believe to be Week 8. We are picking up a guy whose roster percentage has dipped after his last start, and then 3 other guys who are hot right now. Today's video, as always, is brought to you by FanDuel Canada. If you're betting on baseball and you are in Canada, be betting on FanDuel. And even if you're in America, be betting on FanDuel as well. First player is John Means of the Orioles, 54% rostered. He is starting a game today. 1-0 so far this season, 3.09 ERA. His whip, .77, 11 strikeouts in 11 2/3 innings pitched. He's now made 2 starts, one great one against the Reds, and then struggled more against the Diamondbacks. But they're really good against left-handed pitching, so that isn't really a concern to me. Means has 11 strikeouts to 0 walks to start the season, and that's where his value lies. He's had a great strikeout minus walk rates in his career because the walk rates are consistently below 5%. I believe in his ability to limit hard contact and just worry about his ability to punch people out. But he's in a must-add spot instead of people trying to acquire him because the range of outcomes, I think, are kind of great. He gives up rockets. The expected stats aren't great, but I do think he is going to eat a ton of innings, and he should be super valuable in fantasy because he should be able to rack up wins for an awesome Orioles team. John Means has obviously dropped in velocity from the injuries, which makes sense, but the changeup's really good, throwing the slider a lot more, so I'm ready to see how that is going to play out over a longer period of time. Gets to face the Mariners tonight, an okay matchup. And again, the huge pushback wall in left should help him at home. Super curious about Means is going to do in fantasy this season, but I think he is a must-add player. The second one is Rhys Olsen of the Tigers. He's 38% rostered on the season, 0-4, 2.09 ERA, a whip of .99. He has 41 strikeouts in 47 1/3 innings pitched. If Rhys Olsen happened to just be 2-2 instead of 0-4, his roster percentage would be much higher. But we look at his other stats, and they are fantastic. You look at his ERA and whip; those are both really, really good. Reading a Scott White article, and he summarized Olsen really well. He hasn't allowed a single home run yet, which itself would suggest some correction in his ERA, but unlike Javier Assad and Eric Fedde, Olsen's talents are plain to see. Slider and changeup both have better than a 40% whiff rate, and are storing both in near equal measure to his fastball. He also has a 56.4% ground ball rate that ranks 7th among qualifiers. So Rhys Olsen, the xFIP numbers are still pretty good. They're worse than his ERA, but I think he's more of a 3.2, 3.5 ERA guy, which is really good in fantasy still. He's in the top 10% when it comes to weighted on base average against. If he didn't even throw his sinker at all, which is he throws 4th out of the 5 pitches he throws, he would only have given up 1 extra base hit all year. I think Rhys Olsen is a great option in fantasy. I will also be picking him up. Next, we move to the outfield, first base or outfield. That is Luke Raley, 14% rostered from the Seattle Mariners on the season, a 276 average, 3 homers, 11 driven in, 3 stolen bases, and a weighted runs created plus of 117. Luke Raley, for the second straight season, is a super underrated fantasy asset. Just last year, he hit 19 homers and stole 14 bases in 119 games. They were playing Luke Raley way too infrequently to start the season, but his numbers over the last 15 games have been insane. Over the last 15 games, he's hitting .390 with a .634 slug, 3 home runs, and 3 stolen bases. Luke Raley is in the top 7% of the league in max exit velocity, and I think he's underperforming as well, as his career barrel rate is 11.9%, and he is currently running a barrel rate this season of only 6.7%. Raley is going to get a lot more playing time, and that makes him a much better fantasy option. I will be looking at Raley in some deeper leagues. I think the roster percentage is going to bump as well. Expected stats aren't fantastic, but I think that'll turn around. He can hit the ball incredibly hard. And lastly, we have Joey Ortiz of the Brewers, an infielder, 8% rostered on the season, a 277 average, 4 homers, 12 driven in, a stolen base, and a weighted runs created, plus of 154. Like always, Scott White had a great write-up on him a couple of days. When Joey Ortiz went to the Brewers in the Corbin Burnes trade this offseason, it seemed like a golden opportunity for a player who had demonstrated quality bat-to-ball skills and impressive high-end exit velocities in the minors. For the first few weeks, he faced the same problem as the Orioles, no place to play, and that is beginning to change. Brewers have started Ortiz in 8 of their past 10 games and have recently optioned his primary competitor, Oliver Dunn, to the minors. In his part-time role, Ortiz delivered a 277 slash line with 384, 511 slash line, which would certainly be good enough for most fantasy leagues. 49.3% ground ball rate undermines his high-end exit velocity to some degree, but it's at 40% since April 25th, during which he has hit all 4 of his home runs. So you look at Joey Ortiz, the other things as well. Chase rate, fantastic. Whiff rate, fantastic. Walk percentage, fantastic as well. And all of those things show signs of a really good hitter, even if you struggle a little bit. If you have good quality at bats as well to get deeper in counts, I think you're going to be a decent hitter. You still need to make contact and hard contact, and when he does that thing. And so I think there's a lot of good qualities for Joey Ortiz here. There's a reason he was in the package for Corbin Burns, and the more run he gets, the better option he will become. So I also love Joey Ortiz. Thank you everyone for watching Must Add. Thank you to FanDuel for sponsoring the video. Let me know what you think of this week's players, and I will see you guys next week.